And wow, that didn't do any better. So, we're putting you back right there, which looks a little bit better for me. Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. For those of you who are accustomed to watching on Twitch, this is part of our little change-up that we're doing, where we do it on Facebook Live first, and then we air it immediately after, or in this case today, after the Capitals game on Twitch, so we have it on both platforms. Last week we demoed it, this week we're doing it again. We're going to try to make it consistent, and then we're also working on a few other changes, and if you can tell, I also shaved the dead rat off of my face. Alright, so with that, we're going to hop right into it. My game plan is to get this done by 7:45, so I have 15 minutes to start working on the stuff for the website for the Caps game, which I'll be watching in here. So with that, we're going to jump right into it on November 7th versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins, their lineup was Dominic Simone with Sidney Crosby and Brian Rust, Carl Hagelin with Evgeny Malkin and Patrick Hornquist, Jake Gensel with Riley Sheehan with Phil Kessel, Zach Aston-Reeves with Matt Cullen and Garrett Wilson. On defense, they have Brian Gillen with Chris Letang, Ole Mata with Chad Ruedel, Jack Johnson with Jamie Alexiak, and Casey DeSmith was the one in goal for the Pens. For the Capitals, they had Alex Ovechkin with Evgeny Kuznetsov and Dmitry Yaskin, Chandler Stevenson with Nicholas Backstrom and TJ Oshie, Andre Burakovsky with Lars Eller and Brett Connolly, Jacob Vrana with Travis Boyd and Devontae Smith-Pelly. Then they also, on defense, had Dimitrov, Matt Niskanen, and Michael Kempney with John Carlson, Christian Hughes with Madison Bowie, and Braden Holtby in goal. In the first period at 2:17, Jamie Alexiak would get 2 minutes for slashing. Then at 11:33, Jacob Vrana would get 2 minutes for tripping. On that power play at 12:16, Sidney Crosby would score his 7th of the season from Jack Johnson. And at 15:09, Carl Hagelin would be called for 2 minutes for goalie interference. At the end of the first, Pittsburgh would be up 1-0. Shots were 9-7 in favor of the Penguins. Face-offs were 11-7 in favor of Pittsburgh. Hits were 14-4 in favor of Pittsburgh. And on the power play, Pittsburgh was a perfect 1-for-1, and the Capitals were 0-2. This was an okay period for the Capitals. They were able to generate some chances, but the Penguins were very aggressive with their coverage, forcing the issue, especially on special teams. The Capitals need to pick up their physicality. The Penguins are dominating them physically, and that is why the Penguins are generating some of the better quality scoring chances. Also, the Capitals need to do a better job of establishing zone time in the Pittsburgh zone. Then at 6:33 into the second period, Sidney Crosby will get 2 minutes for hooking. Then on that power play at 7:09, Alex Ovechkin will score on the power play, his 12th of the season from John Carlson and Nicholas Backstrom. At 9:35, Michael Kempney will be called for tripping. Then at 11:27, Jake Gensel will be called for tripping. And then at 15:05, Evgeny Malkin will be called for roughing. At the end of the second period, it would be tied 1 apiece. Shots were 26-17 in favor of Pittsburgh. Faceoffs were 19-18 in favor of Pittsburgh. Hits were 22-12 in favor of Pittsburgh. In the power play, Pittsburgh was 1-for-2 and the Caps were 1-for-5. This was another okay period for the Capitals. They started well and drew a good amount of penalties against the Penguins. However, the Capitals only capitalized on one of those power plays. It was very evident that both teams did not play a full 20 minutes as well. The Capitals need to bring out their physical game. They are still getting outworked by Pittsburgh, and the Penguins are playing a lot choppier, and it is helping them generate scoring chances. Also, the Capitals need to do a much better job on their power play opportunities. They've had 5 thus far, and only 1 was successful. Then, in the third period at 2:36, Christian Hughes got 2 minutes for holding. Then at 3:27, Evgeny Malkin got a 5-minute major for an illegal hit to the head and a game misconduct. And at 18:46, TJ Oshie would score the game-winning goal, his 8th of the season, from John Carlson and Evgeny Kuznetsov. At the end, the Capitals would win 2-1. Shots were 42-22 in favor of Pittsburgh. Faceoffs were 31-28 in favor of Pittsburgh. Hits were 28-22 in favor of Pittsburgh. And on the power play, Pittsburgh was 1-for-3, and the Capitals were 1-for-6. Despite the Capitals having a horrible night in the shot department and with the power play, they were able to preserve and win this one 2-1. TJ Oshie took a stick near his eye and then much later was elbowed in the head by Evgeny Malkin. But neither events would keep him in the locker room, as he would return both times, and the second time he came back would score the game-winning goal to give the Capitals the victory. Also, Braden Holtby played out of his mind in this game, making some amazing saves. And I'm not even going to get into the whole Malkin thing, because at this point it's a freaking moot point, so we're not even going to talk about it. He should have been suspended, that's my personal feeling, but it's whatever at this point now, so I don't care. Moving on. Now, discretion advised. Producer's note. I did not see the game against Columbus. I did not see the game against Arizona. I was out of town. I take bookings for conventions all the time. These two games happen to be when I was on a booking. So I did not see the games, but Dixon covered the game for us on the Txht, on txhthockey.com. So looking at this, for the Capitals, they had a minor lineup change for them. John Carlson would be out day to day due to a lower body injury, which meant that Michael Kempney would move on to a line with Matt Niskanen. Dmitry Orlov would be with Christian Jus. Jonas Ziegenthal would be making his NHL debut, and he would be paired up with Madison Valley. On offense, you still had Vrana on the third line with Eller and Connolly, and Burakovsky on the fourth line with Boyd and Devontae Smith-Pelly. By the way, Dixon, great job doing the keys to the game for this one. Good job. So, all right. And then for the lineup for the Blue Jackets, you had Artemi Panarin with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Cam Atkinson, Nick Foligno with Boone Jenner and Josh Anderson, Lucas Sedlak with Alexander Wenberg and Anthony Duclair, Marcus Hannikin, I'll figure that out eventually, with Brendan Dubinsky and Riley Nash, Ryan Murray with Seth Jones, Marcus Nudavaro with David Savard, Zach Werenski with Scott Harrington, and Sergei Bobrovsky in goal. Great job, Dixon, on the keys to the game, bud. Alright, going into the first period at 4:46, Josh Anderson would get a 2-minute minor for cross-checking. And then at 15:28, Evgeny Kuznetsov would be called for interference. On that power play at time unknown, Oliver Bjorkstrand would score his second of the season from Nick Foligno and Alexander Wenberg. At the end of the first, it would be Columbus 1, Washington 0. Caps outshot Columbus 15-9. Faceoffs were 13-12 in favor of Columbus. Hits were 12-3 in favor of Columbus. And the Caps were 0-1, and Columbus was 1-1 on their power plays. According to Dixon, the Washington Capitals came out shooting pretty well, but started to fall midway through the first period. Faceoffs throughout the contest have been virtually even. The Capitals need to continue playing their game and shooting the puck. Need to do much like in the previous contest. The Capitals have to play more physically. The Capitals are dominating the Blue Jackets are dominating the Capitals when it comes to the hits. In addition, the Capitals need to do a better job of hitting the net. There are several missed opportunities to get goals. Then in the second period at 6:51, Alexander Wenberg would be called for hooking. On that power play at 7:53, Matt Niskanen would get his third of the season from Nicholas Backstrom and Evgeny Kuznetsov. Then at 11:08, David Savard would be called for holding. And then at 18:13, Michael Kempney would be called for holding as well. At the end of the second period, we tied 1-1. Shots were even at 25 apiece. Faceoffs were 25-21 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 20-10 in favor of Columbus. And for the Oh, okay, now we get it. Alright. And then on the power play, the Caps were 1-for-3 and Columbus 1-for-2. Sorry, the way Dixon put the note in here was very confusing. Analysis, the power play units have been very effective in the face-off circle. The Capitals were better, and both teams continue to shoot the puck very well. The Capitals must get better on the physicality. Columbus is all over the Capitals on this aspect. In the last 20 minutes, the Capitals need to attack the net to make Bobrovsky uncomfortable and take advantage of any open net chances that happen. However, in the third period at 4:04, Dmitry Orlov would be called for roughing. Then at 5:09 on that power play, Anthony Duclair would score his 7th of the season from Artemi Panarin and Zach Werenski. Then at at the 13-minute mark, Pierre-Luc Dubois would be called for holding the stick. And then at 19:17, David Savard would be called for hooking. However, the Caps would not be able to do anything with those power plays, and the Blue Jackets would win 2-1. Shots were 36-34 in favor of the Caps. Faceoffs were 32-29 in favor of the Caps, and hits were 24-19 in favor of Columbus. And on the power play, the Caps were 1 for 5. Columbus 2 for 3. The Capitals fizzled out when it came to attacking the net until the last 5 minutes of the contest. The Capitals' physicality did not come out until the third period, but still was not enough. The Capitals did not take enough shots on the power play and must shoot the puck when it comes to the power plays. In the face-off circle, both teams were fairly even throughout the contest. Both teams were also fairly even in shots on goal overall. Washington will look to fix some of these issues when they take on the Arizona Coyotes on Sunday. On to that. Alright, cool. Like I said, game plan 7:45. I know people want to watch the Caps. Alright, so for the Capitals, they did some lineup changing. They have Alex Ovechkin with Evgeny Kuznetsov and TJ Oshie, Chandler Stevenson with Nicholas Backstrom and Jacob Vrana, Brett Connolly with Lars Eller and Devontae Smith-Pelly, Andre Burakovsky with Nick Dowd and Travis Boyd, Dmitry Orlov with John Carlson, Michael Kempney with Matt Niskanen, Christian Hughes with Madison Bauer, and Braden Holtby in the goal. Really, Dixon? Keys to the game you're supposed to give. Here's the key to the game. Here's why. I love you, Dixon. I'm just giving him a hard time, everybody. He's my buddy. And for the Arizona Coyotes, you had Richard Panik with Alex Galchenyuk and Christian Fischer, Brendan Perlini with Derek Stepan and Clayton Keller, Michael Grabner with Brad Richardson and Vinny Hinostroza, Nick Cousins with Dylan Strome and Josh Archibald. On D, they have Oliver Ekman-Larsson with Jason Demers, Jordan Osterley with Nicholas Halmerson, and Kevin Connaughton with Ilya Lubushkin. And Darcy Kemper would be starting in goal. In the first period, at 1:15 into the game, Dimitrov would be called for hooking. At the 15-minute mark, Matt Niskanen would be called for tripping. On that power play at time unknown, Vinny Hinostroza would score his 4th of the season from Dylan Strome and Richard Panik. Arizona had the 1-0 lead after the first. Shots were 12-10 in favor of Arizona. Faceoffs were 12-10 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 9-6 in favor of the Capitals. And Arizona was 1 for 2 on their power play. The Capitals would not put enough pressure on the defensive side throughout all 20 minutes. Both teams would shoot the puck well, and good saves were being made with a lot of traffic at the net. The Capitals need to play a full 20-minute period, all around great hockey. The Capitals also need to create havoc around the net and take advantage of any and all opportunities to get any goals that they can get. And then at 4:43, Brandon Perlini would be called for hooking, and then at 11:57, Richard Panik would score his 4th of the season unassisted. And at 12:41, Nicholas Backstrom would score his 4th of the season from Alex Ovechkin and Madison Bauer. Then Kuznetsov would be called for high sticking at 13:22, and on that power play at 14:38, Alex Galchenyuk would score his 3rd of the season from Brandon Perlini and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And then at 15:34, Dylan Strome would be called for high sticking. Shots were 26-17 in favor of the Caps. Faceoffs were 22-20 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 16-12 in favor of the Caps. However, the Caps were 0 for 2 on the power play, and Arizona 2 for 3. According to Dixon, the Capitals did not play a smart second half of the second period. The Capitals allowed a goal by not focusing, and they were not playing smart on the defensive side of the puck. The Capitals need to once again create more havoc around the net. The defense is not up to par. The Capitals need to maintain focus and play their game and not get called for penalties. So the Capitals need to draw penalties and get on the power play. If the Capitals want to win this game, the next 20 minutes must be smart hockey and attack the net and take advantage of any turnovers they get. And then at 58 seconds into the period, TJ Oshie would get a double minor for high sticking. Then at 18:28, Derek Stepan would score his 4th of the season when he would get the empty netter. And at 19:10, Nicholas Backstrom would be called for tripping. Arizona would win this game 4-1. Shots were 39-22 in favor of the Caps. Faceoffs were 32-30 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 20-19 in favor of the Caps. And on the power play, the Caps are 0 for 2, and Arizona was 2 for 6. For Dixon, this was a very sloppy contest for the Washington Capitals. A lot of opportunities were missed in this contest. There were too many sloppy passes, and despite having a lot of shots on goal, only one was able to find the back of the net. The Capitals need to figure out how to make cleaner chances and not take as many penalties. This was unacceptable play overall, and the consistency was not there when it needs to be. The Capitals need to figure out what the issues are quick. Washington starts a very tough road trip on Tuesday night when they travel to St. Paul, Minnesota to take on the Minnesota Wild. When I come back and I take back over the website. But Dixon, you still did a great job running things when I was out of town. Sorry I wasn't tweeting everything out like I probably should have, but it happens when you're out of con. So, for the Capitals, they took on the Minnesota Wild last night after fizzling out at the end of their 5-game homestand. The Washington Capitals get a major boost with the return of Tom Wilson, who had his suspension reduced to 14 games earlier in the day yesterday as they begin a 4-game road trip in Minnesota, who have been 10-2-0 in their past 12 games. Lineup for the Capitals is Alex Ovechkin with Evgeny Kuznetsov and Tom Wilson, Jacob Brano with Nicholas Backstrom, TJ Oshie, Andre Burakovsky with Lars Eller, Brett Conley, Chandler Stevenson with Travis Boyd and Devontae Smith-Pelly. On defense with Dmitry Orlov with John Carlson, Michael Kempney with Matt Niskanen, and Christian Hughes with Masson Bowie with Phoenix Copley in goal. Keys to the game: get your act together. Capitals have not been playing inspired hockey as of late, and they need to get their act together and start playing the way they were that took them to a Stanley Cup victory this past summer. And then secondly, play smart. Now this is more centric to one guy, and we all knew who I'm talking about, and that's Tom Wilson. And with him being injected back into the lineup, all eyes will be on him tonight, and he will need to play smart and choose his spots wisely when throwing hit. And this is going to be a consistent thing, but I wanted to put that out there right off the bat. It's going to be consistent. It's also going to be consistent with tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. For the Minnesota Wild, they had Zach Parise with Miku Koivu and Nino Niederreiter, Jason Zucker with Eric Stahl and Michael Granlund, Jordan Greenway with Joel Eriksson Ek and Charlie Coyle, Marcus Foligno with Eric Fair and JT Brown. On D, they have Ryan Suter with Matt Dumba, Jonas Brodin with Jared Spurgeon, Nick Seeler with Greg Patron, and Devin Dubnyk in net. In the first period of 2:56, Matt Dumba would get 2 minutes for interference, and then at 6:33, Dmitry Orlov would score his first of the season from Lars Eller and Andre Burakovsky. Then at 19:32, Tom Wilson would get his first of the season from Dmitry Orlov and Evgeny Kuznetsov. However, in the world of Tom Wilson, at 19:32 as well, 2 minutes for goalie interference when realistically it was Ryan Suter who put Wilson into Dubnyk and also took out Dubnyk himself. So, but the funny thing is that I don't even know why there was even a conference on this, because when you see the overhead replay, Wilson has already scored, and then you got Suter right on top of him, pushing him and kind of holding him a little bit. I don't know how they got a penalty out of that, but whatever. It is what it is. Oh, wow. Interesting. I'm going to bring this up real quick. That's really interesting. I'll explain that in a moment. But anyway, so at the end of the first, it would be the Caps up 2-0. Shots were 12-6 in favor of the Caps. Faceoffs were 12-7 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 11-3 in favor of Minnesota. And Washington was 0-for-1 on the power play. And the first one for Minnesota is in progress. This was a good first period for the Capitals. They squandered their lone power play of the period, but responded very well to the first goal of the game. Also, seeing Wilson score late in the period is good for the Capitals' momentum wise, despite the odd goalie interference penalty at the exact same time. The Capitals need to clean up the game a bit. They have too many odd passes, trying to get into the offensive zone, and need to stop doing the slingshot while on the power play, as it is killing their entries into the zone. I hate the slingshot so much. It's one of the dumbest plays you can do on a power play. And you would have thought after the game, the first game against Edmonton, when Nugent Hopkins scored, that they would have stopped doing that nonsense. Alright, now going into the second period of 3:13, Andre Burakovsky will score his second of the season from Lars Eller and Brett Conley. Then at 349, Nick Sealer would get 2 for slashing. At 950, Burakovsky would get 2 for tripping. At 1157, Miku Koivu would score his 3rd of the season unassisted. Then at 1158, both Marcus Foligno and Tom Wilson would both get 5-minute majors for fighting. At the end of the second, Caps would be up 3-1. Shots were 27-14 in favor of the Caps. Face-offs were 24-16 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 15-5 in favor of Minnesota. On the power play, both teams were 0 for 2. This was a good period to start, as it showed the Capitals outshoot Minnesota 9-0 to start the period, but some sloppy play allowed the Wild to cut the lead to 3-1. The Capitals need to clean up their game a bit and make sure they play a full 20 minutes to close out the Wild. Cleaner passes and puck control will be key as well in the third. And then in the third period at 4:27, Matt Niskanen will get 2 minutes for holding. And then at 5:23, I don't know how my math does that. I think that might have been shorthanded. I don't remember. Dmitry Orlov got his 2nd of the game from Alex Ovechkin and Matt Niskanen. Yeah, I think I did the time wrong. I think that's really supposed to be 7:23. I don't remember. Then at 9:48, TJ Oshie scored his 9th for the season from Nicholas Backstrom and Jacob Vrana. Then at 10:41, Orlov will get 2 for holding. At 12:11, Nino Niederreiter and John Carlson will both get 2 minutes for roughing. At 12:18, Madison Valley will get 2 minutes for delay of game. On that power play at 14:08, Matt Dumba would score his 6th of the season from Miku Koivu and Marcus Foligno. And then at 17:41, Evgeny Kuznetsov would get 2 minutes for Eldor. At the end of the game, Caps would win 5-2. Shots were 33-28 in favor of the Caps. Face-offs were 30-29 in favor of the Caps. Hits were 21-9 in favor of Minnesota. Power play was 0 for 2 for the Caps and 1 for 6 for Minnesota. This was a good one for the Capitals. The return of Tom Wilson was definitely a boost for the Caps. However, the third period was dominated by the Wild as they outshot the Capitals 14-6. But on the plus side, the Capitals did score on their first 2 shots of the third period. Also, the penalties were a killer this period to end the game. Next up, obviously, for the Capitals is tonight in Winnipeg at 8 p.m. And look at that. That over. I am working on an article about Cheyenne Dawes and the recent lifting of Tom Wilson, or reduction of Tom Wilson's suspension. Also, the effect that it takes on other things as well, being how with Wilson, first you had Austin Watson, now you have Tom Wilson. There is an effect that kind of comes in and sweeps into this thing. So I'm only going to touch major things due to time. So goodbye, 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 goodbye. Okay. So on November 7th, Edmonton Oilers forward Milan Lucic has been fined $10,000, the maximum allowable under the collective bargaining agreement, for roughing Tampa Bay Lightning forward Matthew Joseph. During NHL game number 220 in Tampa on Tuesday, November 6th, the National Hockey League's Department of Player Safety announced. Now, I think I covered this on the show, but I'm just doing this to be on the safe side. But, come on, that should have been a suspension. He literally hunted him down and chased him. That's the type of stuff we don't need. And then on November 8th, the Hockey Hall of Fame inducted 4 players: Martin Brodeur, Jana Hefford, Martin St. Louis, and Alexander Yakushev, and 2 builders, Gary Bettman and Willie O'Ree, and also honored 2 members of the media as part of the class of 2018. In a cool little moment, Brodeur hit the ice with his goaltender son Anthony in the annual Hager Hockey Hall of Fame Legends Classic in advance of the induction ceremony. A tentative non-class settlement reached in concussion injury litigation. Plaintiffs' counsel in the consolidated multi-district litigation in National Hockey League players' concussion injury litigation. And the National Hockey League announced today that they have reached a tentative non-class settlement of the litigation. The tentative settlement was reached after months of court-ordered mediation overseen by the Honorable Jeffrey J. Keyes. The NHL does not acknowledge any liability for any of the plaintiffs' claims in these cases. However, the parties agree that the settlement is a fair and reasonable resolution and that it is in the parties' respective best interest to receive the benefits of the settlement and to avoid the burden, risk, and expense of further litigation. Now, it is known that there are certain members of the plaintiffs that are refusing, one of which is Daniel Carcillo, who still wants to go to court. And Capitals alumni Dennis Maruk is actually somebody who, if I read it right, is actually going to be rejecting the settlement. So, some interesting things there. The NHL 3 stars of the week were named. Your third star was Philadelphia Flyers center Claude Giroux. Giroux paced the NHL 3 goals, 5 assists, and 8 points with a +8 rating in 3 games to lift the Flyers to a perfect week and into second place in the Metro Division. He recorded 3 straight multi-point outings, logging 2 goals and an assist in a 5-2 victory over Arizona on November 5th, and 2 assists, including the helper on the overtime winner in a 5-4 triumph against the Coyotes on November 8th. And then a 1 goal, 2 assist, 3-point effort in a 4-0 win over the Blackhawks on November 10th. The second star was right winger of the Winnipeg Jets, Blake Wheeler. Wheeler shared the league lead with 6 assists in 2 outings to propel the Jets to consecutive wins in their return from the 2018 NHL Global Series. He set a career high with 1 goal, 4 assists, and 5 points in a 5-2 triumph over the Colorado Avalanche on November 9th. And then the first star was right winger of the Boston Bruins, David Pastrnak. Pastrnak led the NHL with 5 goals in 4 games to power the Bruins to a trio of victories. He scored the tying goal in a 2-1 overtime win against the Dallas Stars November 10th, and then was held off the score sheet in an 8-5 loss to Vancouver. However, he bounced back with 3 goals and an assist, including his third career hat trick and 17th game-winning goal in a 5-1 triumph over Toronto. And the media members that were honored were Joe Bowen and Larry Brooks. Now, Shyam Dawes did a 42-page he did a 42-page ruling. I have not read the entire 42-page ruling yet. I will, which is why I'm kind of taking my time with the article. The National Hockey League, Players Association and the National Hockey League announced today that the Capitals forward Tom Wilson's 20-game suspension for an illegal check to the head of St. Louis Blues forward Oscar Sundqvist has been reduced by arbitrator Shyam Dawes to 14 games. Pursuant up to this ruling, Wilson is eligible to play in Washington's game against Minnesota last night. Now, so yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to talk more about Shyam Dawes later. I don't want to do it tonight. Maybe next week when we come back. I believe we're on Wednesday next week. I don't remember. No, we're Tuesday next week. We are Tuesday next week. Oh, wow. All right. So interesting stuff going into tonight's thing. So last night, Barzal's quick path to 100 points. Barzal had 2 assists, recorded his 25th career multi-point game to boost his career totals to 24 goals, 77 assists, and 101 points in 101 games played. Barzal, who collected 22 goals, 63 assists, and 85 points in last season en route to collecting the Calder Memorial Trophy, required the 6th fewest games among active NHL players to record his 100th career point. And you can guess who the top 2 guys are. Alex Ovechkin at 77 games, Sidney Crosby at 80. Malkin at 89, Connor McDavid at 92, and Paul Stasny at 99. Last night, Joe Thornton capped a 3-0 win with the Sharks by notching the game-winning tally to 400th goal of his NHL career. He became just the 11th player in NHL history to collect at least 400 career goals and 1,000 career assists. Every player who has achieved the feat, other than Jaromir Jagr, who is not yet eligible, has been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. And Erik Karlsson last night hit the 400 assist milestone to become the 13th fastest defenseman in NHL history to reach the mark and the 5th fastest Swedish-born player, regardless of position, behind Peter Forsberg, Kent Nilsson, Nicholas Backstrom, and Bjorn Salmon. Roberto Luongo turned aside 30 shots to backstop the Panthers to their 5th consecutive win and improve to 4-0 this season. Luongo, who ranks 4th in NHL history with 475 career victories, won his first 4 decisions of the season for the first time in his 19-season career. And then Mike Hoffman earned an assist on Florida's opening goal to extend his career-high point streak to 13 games, longest by any player in the NHL this season, and tied Pavel Bure for longest in Panthers franchise history. And then, of course, tonight you have the Capitals versus the Winnipeg Jets, the St. Louis Blues versus the Blackhawks, the Bruins versus the Avalanche, and the Ducks versus the Golden Knights. For tonight, you have 2 of the league's top goal scorers will go head-to-head in Winnipeg when Patrick Laine, who has 8 goals, 2 assists with 10 points in 16 games, hosts Alex Ovechkin, who has 12 goals, 8 assists with 20 points in 17 games, and the Capitals at Bell MTS place. Right. That is that. Now, one of the interesting things that I will say is the NHL has put out this new style podcast or interview style podcast called the NHL Executive Suite. It's hosted by Deb Placey. It's a bi-weekly podcast that'll give listeners a taste of how each guest broke into the game, why they pursue their careers, and how they see the future evolution of the sport, and much more. Premiere episodes featured NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman and is available now on NHL.com and multiple iOS and Android podcast apps. Among other topics, Commissioner Bettman discusses his wife's reaction to his upcoming Hall of Fame induction, his time at the NBA working under David Stern, what it was like to interview for the NHL for the commissioner's position in 1993, and how he knew Las Vegas was ready for an NHL franchise. He also reveals his favorite music, what he looks for when watching hockey games, and how he'd like to be remembered when his time as the NHL commissioner is up. So, and for people who don't know who Deb Placey is, before joining the NHL network in September, she spent the previous 23 years at MSG Network, including hosting the broadcast coverage for New Jersey Devils, the New York Islanders, and sometimes even the Rangers. Upcoming episodes of NHL Executive Suite, which will be posted every other Wednesday, which means next week. Will feature Nashville Predators General Manager David Poile and New York Islanders President and General Manager Lou Lamoriello. I think this would be actually good stuff to listen to. I don't listen to podcasts. This guy doing the podcast, but I think this would be really cool to listen to. So there. So tonight the Capitals take on Winnipeg. So a couple things have just popped up. So let me read this. Phoenix Copley is expected to make second consecutive start tonight. Braden Holtby expected to be scratched. Gavin McHale is due to be the emergency goalie tonight. McHale is goaltending coach with UM Bisons in Winnipeg. And then it's got a thing of University of Manitoba women's hockey. Gavin McHale, is the goalie coach for the women's team for University of Manitoba. But there's some other stuff that just came out. Holtby is missing the game with an upper body injury. Michael Kempney is also out with an illness, so Jonas Zigenthaler will be playing tonight for the Capitals. Look, I just fixed our lighting issue by putting the phone in front of me. Holtby injury is day-to-day, not expected to be too serious, per Isabel Trisherdian of the Washington Post. So, but yeah, so that's interesting. Look at this guy. So this Gavin McHale guy is 6'7", 240 pounds. It's a big goalie. All right. But definitely Winnipeg. This is the team that's been picked. I need to stay on. I need the extra light. Give me that extra light. There we go. This is a game that the Capitals will need to win because Winnipeg is the team that is predicted to win it all this season, as predicted by the Hockey News 5 years ago for their prospects special. So this is one where Connor Hellebuyck's a hell of a goaltender. You got Patrick Laine, Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, Dustin Byfuglien. I mean, that team they have a really good team. I'm honestly surprised that Paul Stastny didn't stay with the Winnipeg Jets and he decided to sign with Vegas instead. I was very shocked with that. I thought he was a really good fit in Winnipeg. But yeah, Winnipeg, they're a top team. They're behind Nashville right now, who's obviously playing insanely great right now. And I think this is a really good test for the Capitals, especially with the fact that I know Alan May had some very stern comments about the Capitals after their loss to Arizona. The re-addition of Tom Wilson into the lineup obviously injects a boost of energy into this locker room. Not only that, but reading Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts today, thought number 6 was about the Capitals, where they said that during the Tom Wilson suspension, the Capitals felt like that teams were taking liberties with them physically. Now that Tom Wilson's back in the lineup, you have that big rig who can kind of deter things compared to the first 16 games where they didn't have anybody who could really do that for them. But yeah, no, I think tonight's game will be a good game. It should be a fun game. If the Caps play a full 20 minutes, we should see some really exciting hockey. Especially the fact that this was very close to becoming the actual Stanley Cup Finals matchup last season. You had Winnipeg lost in 6 games to Vegas, but if Winnipeg was a very viable team and they could have easily gone to the finals. But yeah, so with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. I'm not going to hold this up anymore. I need to get ready to do all the stuff for the website for the game. And but simply go to txhthockey.com for everything. All of our social media is up on there. Feel free to comment on our articles. We do respond back to the one negative comment that we got. We're working on stuff behind the scenes. We will be announcing it hopefully next month. So txhthockey.com, hop on there. If you're watching this on Facebook right now, hit the like button, follow us. Always get alerted when we go live. Makes my life a lot easier because I have to look at when we're going live again, which will be next Tuesday. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, for those watching on Twitch, follow on Twitch. For those of you who are watching live on Facebook, thanks for watching live before the Caps game. For those of you watching after the game on Twitch, thanks for watching on Twitch. And until next time, we'll see you on the ice.